Hi there, and welcome to the long-awaited episode 3 of Dreamy News with Clivia. I'm your host Clivia, and in this show I aim to read to you the most thrilling sports news articles of the day in the voice they're meant to be read in. A voice to send you to sleep. A disclaimer: I have no expertise whatsoever in sports or in sleep sciences and cannot guarantee that you will learn about these topics or go to sleep. I do recommend, however, that you sit down or even lie down before listening to each episode so that if you do fall asleep, you don't hurt yourself. Maybe even close your eyes and take a deep breath or two just to relax the body. So, if you're ready, here we go. Today I'm going to help you nod off by reading 2 really scintillating stories from the online edition of the Sydney Morning Herald. Our first story is from the world of boxing and is called Mike Tyson, 57, announces boxing return for Netflix fight against Jake Paul, and it was written by Gareth A. Davies on March 8, 2024. Mike Tyson is to fight the YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul in a bout that will be live streamed on Netflix. Tyson, 57, was known as the baddest man on the planet in his heyday, while Paul, 27, has spoken of his ambition to become a professional world champion. The fight will take place on July 20 at the AT&T Stadium in Texas. It will be the second time Paul and Tyson have appeared together at a boxing event. Paul fought in the co-main event of a pay-per-view night in 2020 when Tyson took part in an exhibition bout against Roy Jones Jr. That was Tyson's first return to the ring since 2006. That night was Paul's second professional boxing match. He knocked out the former NBA player Nate Robinson in the second round. Paul now has a record of 9 wins, 1 loss, with 6 knockouts on his resume, while Tyson's career saw him achieve 50 professional wins from 58 fights, with a staggering 44 by knockout. Tyson holds the record as the youngest ever heavyweight champion after claiming his first belt at 20 years, 4 months and 22 days old, before becoming the first man to unify the WBA, WBC and IBF titles. Tyson reigned as undisputed champion from 1987 to 1990. It's crazy to think that in my second pro fight, I went viral for knocking out Nate Robinson on Mike Tyson's undercard, Paul said. Now, less than 4 years later, I'm stepping up to face Tyson myself to see if I have what it takes to beat one of boxing's most notorious fighters and biggest icons. Within just 2.5 years of founding MVP, Paul's promotional company, Most Valuable Promotions, we're about to produce the biggest fight in history, a fight in the biggest NFL stadium in the US, broadcast live on the biggest streaming platform in the world, a testament to all we've accomplished in such a short amount of time. My sights are set on becoming a world champion, and now I have a chance to prove myself against the greatest heavyweight champion ever, the baddest man on the planet, and the most dangerous boxer of all time. Tyson said, "I'm very much looking forward to stepping into the ring with Jake Paul. He's grown significantly as a boxer over the years, so it will be a lot of fun to see what the will and ambition of a kid can do with the experience and aptitude of a GOAT. G-O-A-T. It's a full circle moment that will be beyond thrilling to watch, as I started him off on his boxing journey on the undercard of my fight with Roy Jones, and now I plan to finish him." For our second story, we turn to the upcoming Paris Olympics with a story entitled "Why Aussie Olympians Aren't on Board for Paris Floating Opening Ceremony," written by Iain Payten and Tom Decent on March 7, 2024. A draining 8-hour commitment on the eve of competition, or mid-competition for some, may result in a large number of Olympic athletes choosing to skip Paris 2024's unique opening ceremony on the River Seine. In an Olympic Games first, the opening ceremony for the Paris Games will not be held in a stadium, but instead see athletes paraded on a flotilla of boats down the Seine in the heart of the French capital. Security concerns about the open-air event have forced organisers to draw up contingency plans for an alternative venue and to drastically cut back on the number of spectators allowed on the riverside. French officials said on Tuesday only 300,000 would attend, a far cry from the 2 million promised when Paris won the bid. But dwindling athlete numbers on the river for the July 26 event may be an issue for Olympic organisers too. The Australian Olympic Committee is among a number of major national bodies who are anticipating a sizable percentage of their 500-strong team will not attend the opening ceremony due to lengthy times required to participate and with tricky scheduling and geographic considerations also factored in. Athletes have traditionally spent 4 to 6 hours attending and marching in opening ceremonies. But AOC Chief Executive Matt Carroll said an 8-hour round trip from the Olympic Village had given a number of athletes pause for thought about the Seine experience. The French always do something very special, and having an opening on the ceremony on the river is very, very special. It is an iconic river in the heart of Paris, Carroll said. The issue for athletes, and it is understandable, is it is almost an 8-hour commitment, particularly for athletes who have already started their competition, such as the rugby sevens players or the swimmers who start the following day. It is just pretty hard for them to make that sort of commitment. We will work with the athletes as they become members of the team and see who wants to be part of the opening ceremony. It is the athlete's choice. I was over in Lausanne last week and talking to the other NOCs, National Olympic Committees, and counterparts in America, Canada, and New Zealand, and it is the same issue for their athletes as well. We will work with the sports and athletes, and it will be their decision. A lot of athletes are keen about it, obviously, because it is a fantastic part of being in an Olympics. But they are all very mindful they're there to do a job and compete and do as best as they possibly can. At recent Olympic Games, the Australian swimming team have held opening ceremony functions in the Olympic Village to stay off their feet, and the athletics team do not arrive until midway through the Games. Several sports are being staged away from Paris, including basketball, surfing and sailing, while the men's rugby sevens competition starts 2 days before the opening ceremony and pauses for a day before finals are played a day after. I think Michael Hooper was talking about how pumped he was to do it, and we were all like, "You're not going, mate." We were like, "There's no chance you're going to the opening ceremony," Aussie Sevens captain Charlotte Caslick said, adding, "The women's team won't attend either." Australian Sevens star Maurice Longbottom said, "It's disappointing we're not going to be able to do it, but the reality is we're there to win a medal. We've got to stay focused on the end goal." Football pool rounds also begin before the opening ceremony in locations around France. And with their competition starting a day after the opening ceremony, the Australian rowing team will also opt out of the open-air event on the Seine. We won't be going to the opening ceremony. It is the night before, so it is too much for that turnaround, said Tokyo gold medalist and 2024 team member Alex Purnell. Speaking At the launch of the Australian team uniforms in Sydney on Thursday, Carol and Australian Olympic team chef de mission Anna Mears said they were comfortable security arrangements were being put in place for the opening ceremony and the Paris Games. We have our own security consultant and we are very close to the Australian Federal Police, who are very much wired into the security as you'd expect, Carol said. There has already been one security meeting in Paris and there is another one coming this month, so we are very satisfied with the security the French are going to provide. Mears said, "Security is our highest priority. We know the French government and Paris Organising Committee have taken on an enormous undertaking at the Olympics. We know France and Paris have put on big events before and they have done it successfully." That's it for today, lovely people. I hope you're all asleep, and even if you're not asleep, I hope you enjoyed this little break. Happy dreams, everyone, and thank you for listening to episode 3 of Dreamy News with Clivia. You will find links to today's news stories in the show notes below. When you wake up, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it, and subscribe if you'd like to.